Hello everyone. In this video I want to look at solving a triangle using law of sines, and in particular this is the ambiguous case. In other words, the kind of triangle that when you solve with law of sines can have anywhere from 0 to 2 solutions. So let's look at this and determine how we can figure out whether it's 0, 1, or 2 solutions. Solve the triangle with side B equal to 4, side C 3, and angle B 40. What always helps me is to draw what I have. Let's just make a generic triangle. Now let's say that's A, we'll say that's B, and that's C. And always keep in mind, you don't have to label these angles as A, B, and C as I have. You could do them in a different order. The only thing you have to keep in mind is, since my angle C is up here, side C has to be right there. Angle B is here on the right, side B has to be the opposite side. As long as you follow that rule, you can put them anywhere you want. And there's my angle 40. So we can confirm that this is a law of sines question, because as I go around the circle, or excuse me, as I go around the triangle, but rather, I have a side, side, and an angle. So side, side, angle, and that is one of the associations with law of sines. So it just confirms law of sines. When I set up my law of sines equations, so I have my law of sines now. This is a refresher, this is the basic law of sines. Let me set up what I can. Now, because of the values I've been given, I really only have one choice, and that is I can do sine of 40 over 4. Sine of 40 over 4 equals, the only other side I have is side C, so I will say sine of angle C over 3. So this means that I'm solving for an angle, and that's an indication, even beyond the side-side angle setup, that's an indication that we could have potentially 0, 1, or 2 solutions. Again, the fact that we're solving for the angle first is always a good indicator of that. So use that as a way of recognizing that, alright, I need to pay attention. This could be multiple answers. So when I solve, I will cross multiply. And I'll have 3 sine of C is equal to, try that again, 4 sine. I'll get it right. 4 sine of C is equal to 3 sine of 40, which means to solve for C, I'll divide each side by 4. And to find angle C, I'll have to take the inverse sine, and specifically, I'll take the inverse sine of 3 sine of 40 over 4. And when I put that into my calculator, I get 28, see, it's approximately 28.8, I'll go 2 decimal places, 0.82 degrees. So I have my my angle C. Here's where I determine how many triangles I can have. Let me set up what I already know. So 2 possible triangles. My first triangle, I know that I have B is equal to 4, C is equal to 3, angle B is 40, and now I just found out that C is 28.82 degrees. For my second triangle, I can assume B is 4, C is 3, and angle B is 40. Now to find my potential second angle, my second angle C, I'll take 180 and subtract 28.82. So my second potential angle is C is about 151.18 degrees. Now, to make sure that I have a valid second triangle, let me add these up. Let me add my two angles that I know. Now, the problem with that is I get 191.18. So that means already, without even finding the third side of my triangle, I have a sum that's over 180 degrees. So that means, again, because the sum of B and C in my second potential triangle, because that sum is bigger than 180, that means I can assume there is not a second triangle. There is at most one. So I can assume no second triangle, which means I can use subtraction to figure out the third angle in my first triangle. So I'll add 40 and 28.82 and subtract that from 180, which means my angle A in the first triangle is about 111.18 degrees. All three of which add up to 180, so my first triangle is still good. Now let me move this and let's figure out the last side. The last thing I need is my third side, my side A. So I prefer to use the original angle I had, which was sine of 40 over 4 equals sine of 111.18 over A. To solve, I will cross multiply A, and let me do one intermediary step. I'll say A, the sine of 40 equals 4 sine of 111.18. To solve for A, I'll divide each side by sine of 40. Remember, sine of 40 is just a number. So don't think of it as, well, shouldn't I divide by 40 or just by sine to cancel them out? Remember, it doesn't work that way. Sine of 40 represents one whole number. So I can only divide by sine of 40 in its entirety. Which means when I do my calculations, when I do 4 sine of 111.18 and divide that by sine of 40, A is going to be about 5.8 and 80, because in my approximation, which was 5.802, it doesn't round up, so I'll leave it at 5.80, or of course you could say 5.8. So in this case, I have one distinct triangle. And again, the way to test it is the first angle I get, subtract from 180, and when you add that to your second original angle, if it's bigger than 180 degrees, you know your second triangle is not going to be valid. As always, I hope this video helps. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section, and always suggest questions if you want me to solve those as well. Have a good day.